Hip hop was good. It's your boy Robb D, and the place to be, also known as at the real Robb DIggie on IG. This week we are talking about the iconic Jeffrey Atkins, also known as Ja Rule. And the first time that I was introduced to Ja Rule was the March on Vidi Vidi Vici. And you know what? I'm feeling hip hop today, and I want to recite that real quick because in his words, he says, "I'm tired of being a slave. All my murderers, Lord, can we get a break? We ain't really happy here. Take a look into my eyes and see pain what I feel. Lord, can we get a break? We ain't really happy here. Take a look into my eyes and see pain what I feel. Lord, oh Lord, can we get a break?" That was my introduction to Ja Rule, ladies and gentlemen. Ja Rule is a staple in hip hop for many, many reasons. But before I even get into Ja Rule, I first want to give a shout out to Lucid Paradox. Lucid Paradox had a show last night here in Kansas City on October 2nd, 2021. They got an album coming out in Q4 of this year. You guys, I'm going to put their IG description here, pop up in a second. You guys go out there and support these brothers. What I'm going to tell you about Lucid Paradox is they have the best live show in the Midwest. Their live show is unmatched, okay? So I know you all saying, okay, but there's many other shows that I've been to that is great and all that. Go see a Lucid Paradox show in person, live, and it will change your mind. It's going to blow your mind. Like, shout out to Tyler Keese and his crew, man. Thank you guys for showing me so much love last night, man. You guys put on a phenomenal show, gave me the red carpet treatment, and I told y'all I was going to shout y'all out, man. So thank you, brothers, for your contributions to the Midwestern hip-hop, man. And I just love y'all moving, man. So shout out to Lucid Paradox. One love, man, to y'all, man. Real talk. Now, my guest today for Ja Rule's episode 5 in the new Millennium is a very familiar face that you guys have seen about 14 times now. The 14-time champion, William James Boyd, is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead without further ado. Bring my big brother in. William James, what's good, man? What's popping? Tell the folks what's happening with you, dog. What's good?
I would like to say hello, hip hop, because everybody out there watching in some shape, form, or fashion is hip hop. I want to shout out my brother Robb DIggie, A2 for Sheezy. It's an honor and a blessing to be on here, you know, as many times as I have. I'm humbled and amazed that he's tolerated my presence this long, but I love my brother to death. So look, life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what's up, ladies and germs. Let's get it popping.
Let's get it popping, man. This is our first show together one-on-one, too, man. We've done a lot of shows together, but never one-on-one together, and we chose Ja Rule for this episode, man. So let's jump into it, man. Yo, look, Ja Rule's trophy case is not very big. However, his impact is huge. So let's get into the facts first. One-time BET Award winner, one-time VMA, one-time NAACP Image Award winner, nominated for 4 Grammys, but does not, I repeat, does not have a Grammy Award in his trophy case, but that's okay. Now, we're going to talk about his albums. This man had a 5-album run in the 2000s that was clearly unmatched, changed the whole way that we listen to hip-hop music. The first album, Vidi Vidi Vici, that I just chanted, The March, which starts off that album, was a one-time platinum album with Vidi Vidi Vici, if you all didn't know, is Latin for I came, I saw, I conquered. And some of the joints off of there, of course, Holla Holla, Kill At All, featuring Jay-Z, Got a Story to Tell, and It's Murder, featuring him, DMX, and Jay-Z. A dope, phenomenal track. Now, the year later, October 2000, he dropped Rule 336, which was Everything Between Me and You, with him and Christina Milian. Put It On Me, I Cry, just phenomenal hits. 3 times platinum album. 2001 October, he dropped Pain Is Love. Another 3-time platinum album, was Living It Up, Always on Time, Down Ass Chick, I'm the Real remix with J-Lo. So Much Pain featuring Tupac, the late great Tupac Shakur, talking about his influence over Ja Rule's life. That's how the album actually ends. Last Temptation, November 2002. Man, this brother has some runs, man. One-time platinum, Thug Lovin' with your boy Bobby Brown. You know what I mean? Mesmerized with Ashanti. One of my favorite joints from Ja Rule is the Pledge remix with him, Nas, and Ashanti. That's one of my favorite joints. And then he had Blood in My Eye in November 2003 with Clap Back. The Crown with the Here I Go sample from Mystical, and then he had RULE, which was released in 2004 November, which went gold and had the big joint on there with him, Fat Joe, and the lyrical monster that is Jadakiss, and that is called New York. So that is the premise of our discussion today. And to go on top of that, Ja Rule is the second half of the biggest verses of all time. Okay, so let's get that out there. Mad love and respect to Ja Rule. He killed the verses. I don't care who you ask. Ja Rule won the verses. Let's just be real. Let's get it out there. Let's stop the fabricating, you guys. Let's stop. Don't even think that Joe even came close to winning that. It was not even close. It was a great show for hip hop, but when it comes down to verses, it is a competition. Ja Rule won the verses. Just accept it. Let's move on. All right.
I got mad love for Joe. Mad
love for Joe. I love Joe. Joey Crack. I love Joey Crack. Joey Crack. And he chose Ja Rule as an opponent. You know why? Because nobody was gonna battle Ja. Nobody had the hits. Nobody had the gall to battle Ja Rule and those hits he had in the early 2000s. And we're gonna remind everybody about Ja's importance in the early 2000s, which is gonna make me pass the mic over to my big brother. Big bro, what's good? What's happening? Thank you for being on for our record 15th appearance. And my first question to you is, what is Ja Rule's influence on hip hop in your interpretation?
I'm going to answer that question by amending a proclamation I made quite a while ago. I made the comment that, and I'm not going to get too much off into the woods with this one, but I made a comment that without James Todd Smith, a la LL Cool J, there will be no Drake. Now, I'm not saying that's not true, but there's a critical step in there that I did not mention and I forgot about, and I'll touch on the forgetting the part later. Yeah. But that's Jeffrey Atkins, aka Ja Rule, because Ja Rule made it the thing to do, to harmonize right after, and it's a funny thing, right after Winnie Witty Wiki, which is the correct pronunciation, but ain't nobody pronouncing it like that. We're Americans.
Facts.
Right after Vinny Bitty Bitchy.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts, man.
The funny thing. Exactly.
That's facts, bro. That's the Latin version of how to pronounce that. Correct.
Exactly.
Correct, my good sir. Correct.
So immediately after that, I don't know if it was more accident or design, but the crossover appeal of what he started doing became pop music. And you said it yourself. It became pop music, but I don't think of it like pop music or hip hop. I think it just became what popular music actually is, because rap is now the foremost listened to and sold, form of music on the planet, genre.
Right.
So him harmonizing, is a precursor to Drake, period. It's a direct link. Now with LL, it was a much broader aspect of it, but with Jeffrey Atkins, with Ja Rule, it's a direct transition. And not only does he get vilified for the same thing that Drake gets lauded for, we largely forgot about Ja Rule. What Ja Rule means to the culture is like finding out that, hey, the Egyptians, this great organization, you know what I'm saying? It's like finding out something, a huge piece of the puzzle that was missing. You know what I'm saying? Let's say we forgot about 1,000 years of the Egyptian culture. That's what us talking about Ja Rule today is like, because he not only does not get his props, but I'm going to say one thing to finish this real quick.
No, you good.
With the advent of 50 Cent overshadowed a boatload of artists. And Jay-Z told his artists, whatever you doing, you better get it done now, because Curtis is coming. You know what I'm saying? And when 50 came in, it was like a tsunami. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And that's part of the issue, because the same thing that happened with the puffy suit, the puffy era, the shiny suits and the locks and Puff Daddy, when DMX and Big Pun came through. That was the same thing that happened. And Ja Rule does not get enough credit. He does not get enough credit. He outsold Jay-Z and Eminem at one point during that 5-year run, which is unprecedented.
Yes, I will agree. And to go along with that, I think that when you think about Ja Rule and his run, we talked about this before we shot, or starting shooting right now, ladies and gentlemen, about the Vidi Vidi Vici album, how it was more strictly hip hop. And then when it got the Rule 336, there was a shift. And I don't know if it was Irv Gotti. I don't know if it was Ja. I don't know if it was the Murder Inc. I don't know what imprint had the idea that said, you know what? Let's change the game. Let's change the game. Like let's flip hip hop on its head. Let's bring more R&B feel into it. Let's start harmonizing and let's see how that sticks. Look what the result was. The man sold 3 times platinum albums back to back. He has countless hits. I mean, I'm looking at the list right now. I Cry, Mesmerized, Anything Between Me and You, Always on Time. I mean, these are timeless.
Rainy Days with Mary J.
Rainy Days of which he wrote. Like the man's penmanship, and Boyd, and he wrote What's Love for Fat Joe. He wrote that too. So like, I never understood why people, when Ja was hot. So we'll go back in time. We'll go back in the time machine and we'll go back from 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, when Ja Rule was hot. When I mean he was flaming. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing Ja Rule on BET, MTV, TRL, 106 in Park. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to those shows because they're timeless. Ja Rule was all over the place. He was on top of the world. So was Murder Inc. Murder Inc. was on top of the world. Like, they were taking over, but they had this idea of, to your point, boy, they had this idea of, let's fusion hip hop and R&B together. And look what the outcome was. This man sold millions of albums, you guys. I mean, like, Ja Rule was huge. And I think that what the backlash was, to what your point is, the backlash is, okay, Ja Rule's from Queens, New York, right? Mm-hmm. So, New York is known as the birthplace of hip hop. We don't really start singing here,
Yeah.
And then, 50 Cent comes, and we'll talk about 50 down the road. But yeah. But we'll talk about, when we get to 50, we'll talk about how 50 also flipped hip hop on his head when he came out. But we're talking about Ja Rule and his impact. I do agree that hip hop, he's kind of like he was forgotten about, unfortunately. I really do believe that if hip hop, if it wasn't for the versus battle, right? Let's say the versus battle doesn't take place. Boyd, I want your opinion about this, because if the versus battle does not take place, do you still think we would remember Ja Rule to what he needs? Would we still giving that man his flowers on earth while he's still with us if it wasn't for that?
The answer is a not so complicated yes and no. So the thing is, I saw Ja Rule at his lowest, and we'll get into that later. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if not for the versus battle, cats like you, cats like myself, a lot of cats that knew Ja Rule, that listened to Ja Rule, that loved, what he did with Murder Inc. and J and X. Cats like us, we'd always remember. But just like in this age of multimedia, people tend to have a short attention span. I'm not saying that applies to us, but we would be like, psychologically, we'd be like, yeah, in the back of our minds, we know what impact Ja had, but nobody else would. Yeah. Now, the thing is, without the verses, it would have just been the tsunami that was 50 Cent and everybody else that came after that, And just like when people talk about what's your boy T-Pain, and nobody wants to mention that he was influenced by Roger Troutman and the Vodafone, back in the day. So it's a thing like that, but it's even worse because very few people will remember. But he was huge. His impact was extraordinary. His lyrical dexterity was insane. he stopped writing like physically. He learned this from Jay-Z because he was supposed to be on Can I Live, but he showed up late. He showed up late, and it was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Jay was like, I got this. And so he was like, well, what's going on? I don't see no pad, no pen, no homework on it. So what happened was Jay told him how his process started, and he was like, oh. So greats like Biggie, Jay-Z, and Jeffrey Atkins, and you know what I'm saying, and going into Lil Wayne, they don't write. They don't typically write. They go in the booth after they formulated it. And that is an amazing thing. It's an amazing talent because you train your brain. This is what Jeffrey Atkins did. And not only did he write, you know what I'm saying, for other people, the man was a monster on the charts. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Without that verses, though, I don't think he gets enough light, at least not soon enough. But the verses puts him here now. Yeah. Now he can rectify some of the things that have happened in the past. And who knows? Now another whole generation of people who never knew who Ja Rule was. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, bam. It's just like if they use an old song in like some new movie, let's say a Marvel movie, you know what I'm saying? And then cats go, I'm gonna go check for that dude.
That's facts, man. That's facts. I love the way you articulated that, Will, because he would have been forgotten. He would have been forgotten if it was not for the verses. Let's just be real, hip hop. Let's be real. Let's be real with ourselves right now. Ja Rule would not have been relevant at all. Ja Rule wouldn't have been on Drink Champs. Ja Rule wouldn't have been on getting none of these shows and interviews if it wasn't for the verses. Like, let's just be real with each other right now. So I think that it catapulted him back into the scene. But then there's the bad Ja, right? So, and what I mean by bad Ja is when Ja Rule got attacked by 50 Cent, right? So when another MC, at least when the time that me and you were brought up in, if an MC comes for you clap back, right? You came with the clap back. You know what I'm saying? He came with a couple of other hits and then he shouted out Busta Rhymes, and he started shooting at other cats that really weren't in it, but I guess were affiliated with 50 at the time. Yeah. Neither here nor there. But as the decline, because, you know, once you reach the top, you got to come down. Once you get to the top, you got to start coming down. When the hits weren't really starting coming through no more, and then the Shanty started to take off, and, you know, and 50 Cent was really, really getting hot, and, you know, that's when, to me, Ja started making bad music. The bad Ja. And I want to get your point of emphasis on this, B, because when we talk about the bad Ja, now, mind you, Ja was not a lyrical monster, first off, first and foremost. Wasn't a lyrical monster, but the man knew how to make music. So some could argue that Ja Rule may have coined the phrase hip hop. Not hip hop, but hip hop. Now, is it good or bad? I mean, I don't know. Go ask MC Hammer. Go ask some of the other greats that crossed over that Vanilla made popular music that just so happened that, you know, Caucasian individuals bought their music. That's not his fault. Yeah. You know, he made it for the people. You know what I mean? It wasn't about his design, but he gets the backlash for it. So let's talk about that backlash, B. What is your opinion about Ja Rule making hip hop music and the backlash that he received because of that?
So two things. Back in the early 90s I think it was the Derelicts of Dialect album with Third Base, and I want to say it was MC Search. I think he said, let me get the verse right. Hip hop got turned into hit pop the second the record was #1 on the pop charts. Now, that in and of itself is an amazing statement because I believe Ja Rule did he basically confirmed that, and it's been confirmed 100 times over, blah blah blah. But when a song and I can even go back to Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back, everybody knows Baby Got Back, but it's not the best song on that album. It is not. In fact, I was kind of surprised that one popped, but it is what it is. The thing is, I think at some point Ja Rule, when he got big, it hit his head. And more so than other artists, you know what I'm saying? Because he knew he was the man. He knew, you know what I'm saying, that people were checking for him. And that's one of the reasons he was supposed to be what Ludacris is to the Fast and Furious franchise.
Right.
But after the first movie,
which I believe was Ja in the Fast and Furious movie, I think.
But he was in the first one.
To your point, he went Hollywood. He made a couple of movies and flicks and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, he did the Hollywood route. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm not to cut you off, my good sir, but yeah, he made some movies and stuff like that. So he did a little bit of acting.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think he was the greatest actor. I mean, like,
nah.
I mean, let's just put that out there. No disrespect, Ja, but yeah, you weren't like the greatest actor, my dude. But
he's no Ludacris. Not as far as acting. Not as far as acting. Because it was a good and bad thing, but in life, a lot of things make way for what needs to happen. And Ja Rule was a little bit full of himself, and he was like, I'm not doing the sequel for this amount of money.
Right.
So they pulled in Ludacris, who had a much broader view of possibility. You know what I'm saying? Now he's in a prime position. Right. Now, that was a mistake.
Right.
Another mistake was him shooting darts at rappers who I don't want to say were more talented, but more lyrical and more capable. I mean, when you got DMX, Eminem, and Busta Rhymes on the same track going at you, that's not good.
Yeah,
you know
Hail Mary remix. Go do your homework. Go do your homework, man. The Hail Mary remix was, man, that was so mean. Like, oh man, I remember listening to that for the first time, and
God,
Busta was like, "Yo, Jeffrey, what coming at me for?" Like, I was like, "This is not gonna go
Busta
good."
was calm too.
Yeah, I was like, "This is not gonna go good for Ja."
How your boy King Push say? Surgical summer. I mean, Busta Rhymes was surgical on it, dude.
Man, like. Oh my God, man! Like, but you know what though, B man? Like, we celebrate Ja, we love Ja, and Ja has the hits. Like Ja still has, in my opinion, like some classic hits. Like, and I do believe, to your point, if you think about the blueprint of what rappers want to do now, that's what we're listening to now. You know, rapping.
Drake
R&B.
owes him a check too. Drake owes him a check too.
Yes, they owe him a check. They owe him the blueprint, or whatever you want to coin it. Yes. They owe Ja the blueprint because he was one of the first ones that really fused the sounds together. And I mean, we got classic hits. We're Always on Time, like I mentioned, and Put It On Me.
I want to say he was probably like you mentioned. I think he was the first. I don't know if he was the first, but. In as much as where I'm going, because you had your Nellies, you know what I'm saying? You
had your Nellies, right.
But I think Ja was the first.
Yeah. Nobody was saying, "What would I be without you?" What about rappers doing that?
Nobody.
Nobody was doing that.
Nobody. God.
Nobody doing that, man. Yo, check it, man. Hip hop. Listen, nobody was doing that in the early 2000s. Nobody was going to be vulnerable. Nobody was going to it was all about having fun. You know what I'm saying? We were having a good time in the 2000s. We just surpassed the Millennium. You know, we got through the towers falling. Everybody trying to have a good time and party. You know what I'm saying? And Ja Rule and Irv Gotti, shout out to them, man. And Murder Inc. You know, and regardless of what the fact they went through with their investigation and all that stuff, like I get that part. But what they did in the moment, what they did in the moment, you know what I'm saying? In that time capsule. For those 4 years in hip hop, astronomical. I mean, Ja Rule did joints with J-Lo. Ja Rule did joints with him and Ashanti. Was like a tag team, like a Batman and Robin. Shout out to Ashanti. Ashanti looks great. Oh my God!
Yes.
Like, are you serious? Like, it's crazy right now. It's crazy. But you know what, B man? I'm gonna let you get the last take on this, man. So. What is your last take on Ja and his legacy? And now that we're in 2021, Ja Rule is, back into the limelight again, kind of, sort of, in a sense. But, everybody in hip hop has a very short-term memory too. So Ja's hot in the moment right now because of the versus battle, which was great great for hip hop, great for the culture, great for Ja Rule, great for Fat Joe. But 6 months from now, we're gonna forget about it. So this show is gonna put it back into a time capsule where people can go back and say, you know what? Diggy and Boy talked about Ja and his significance to the hip hop culture in the early 2000s because we want you all to understand when Put It On Me came on, when Always On Time came on, with Down Ass Chick, with Living It Up came on. Like, these are timeless songs. Like, when you go back into your, you know, when you have your barbecues, you know what I'm saying? And you get together with your boys, you put on Living It Up, you know what I mean? Like, it's so timeless. He made timeless music. But my good sir, my big brother, I'm gonna let you have the last word on this. What do you want people to have a lasting impression or a lasting thought about Ja Rule from your perspective?
I'm gonna start it off with what my brother Frank Ketchum would do. He would do the bold announcement thing. So I'm gonna make a bold announcement / proclamation.
Let's do it.
And I'm telling you, this is my word. And I guess as the children would say, on God. This
on God. On God. On God.
Hey, I'm telling you, I truly believe that without that trial, I believe Ja Rule at this point is considered one of the greatest rappers, at least of his era. And I mean greatest, because that put a huge dent in his popularity, in his presence, you know what I'm saying, and what he was able to do. It handicapped him, and it made Murder Inc. look a little suspect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So without that, I think 50 Cent still makes a dent in his popularity, but I don't think he just gets washed to the side. Now, Ja Rule is one of those rare rappers, you know what I'm saying, that's just like, he's such an enigma. I think 6 months from now, if he plays his cards right, that he could part, because the Locks they've already had their credit, you know what I'm saying? Right. They've already been there, but people forgot. That Versus put them back on the map. And what does Sheek Louch do? Drop an album. Right. Now, I'm not saying Josh should drop an album necessarily, but what he should do is remember that at one point in time, and he still has the talent, at one point in time, even Jay-Z was like, I need that dude. Yep. Jay-Z doesn't become Jay-Z without some of the very, very articulate and smart moves he did. You know what I'm saying? Right. And he says it all the time. People underestimate the intellect that Jay-Z has.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
When Ja Rule got on Can I Get A, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's
funny because Jay-Z is Jay-Z, and I love his verse on that. But Ja Rule took that.
Yeah.
It ain't even a question how my dough flows. I'm good in the bad hoes. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Ja Rule elevated that track to something else. Okay? And it's like everybody knew, you know what I'm saying, that he had something. There was something about his voice, his cadence, his demeanor. He knew what he was about. Yeah. Now, if he's smart, then he'll use this platform, you know what I'm saying, to bring himself back to, you know what I'm saying, prominence. Because like you said, man, hip hop has a very, very short memory. And I hope he does get to at least amend a bridge. Like, him and Eminem were cool at one point, but he went at Eminem. Wrong move. Yeah. I think him and DMX patched up their, you know what I'm saying,
I believe so. Because, I believe so before X died. I believe so. Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Going back to when I first heard Ja Rule, it was the same time I heard DMX. Yeah. It was on that Mike Geronimo joint, 5 Deadly Venoms. Whew. And Ja Rule comes in, dude. You know, it's just nasty, man. His verse, I loved it, dude. You know what I'm saying? Because at first I was thinking it was DMX. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was thinking it was DMX, but then he came in and I'm like, man, both of these dudes are nasty. But you knew when you first heard X, you knew when you first heard Ja that you were hearing something legendary. Yep. And somewhere along the line, Ja, he didn't even have the benefit, and I shouldn't say benefit, that's the wrong word. He couldn't say, man, I had a drug problem like X, because without that drug problem, bruh, X is still in it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. But this is Ja, and Ja Rule was lumped unfairly in with DMX, but he had his own thing. And I just hope that this Versus and the fact that he's still in shape means that man still has the hunger inside him. Because I would love to hear another Ja Rule album, dude. And I think hip hop is a little more mature now, that he would be accepted if he does it right. if he does it right, because there was a definite transition between his first and second album. Because you're right, that first album he had Memphis Bleak on. Yep. He did at least 2 joints with him, X and Jay. And those are some of my favorite tracks, dude.
Word.
Those are some of my favorite tracks.
Word.
Seriously.
I mean, I like A Story to Tell. That's my joint too. Yeah. But to your point, and I'm gonna close out behind you, ladies and gentlemen. When you think about Ja Rule, I know we're in the new millennium of hip hop right now, but in the early millennium, in the early 2000s, I don't know if there was another bigger rapper than Ja Rule. Like I think I would agree with Boyd on this one. I mean, we had Nelly. Nelly was huge. Nelly was Nelly. Jay-Z was Jay-Z. But there was no other rapper like Ja Rule. Like nobody was like rapping and harmonizing. Like there was nobody else doing that, man. Like I swear to God, you guys, if you guys go back and remember, those of us that are older of us to remember, those of us on the old school that can remember that time period when Ja Rule was hot. There was nobody that sounded like Ja. He had a 3-year run from 2000, 2001 to 2002 that is unmatched. The records sell show for it, and so does the history books. But here's what I will say and coin the phrase real quick before we start closing out, is when I think about Ja Rule, I think about the verse from Q-Tip from Check the Rhyme. And I'm going to say that because Q-Tip says, and I quote MC Hammer, what you say, Hammer, proper, rapper's not prop. If you call it that, then stop. That's it. That's it, yo. That's it. That's all I got for that, you guys. So,
I'm going to interject one last thing.
Go ahead, family. Go ahead.
During that period, people don't want to admit it, or they I don't want to say they don't want to admit it. They may not realize it. During that point, he was outselling Marshall Mathers and Sean Corey Carter.
Yes.
That's my word.
Yes.
Do the math.
Yes. Well, we're going to get into Jay-Z and Marshall Mathers later on in the season. But ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we're going to start wrapping things up. And how we have been doing so in all of season 4 is showing showing homage to the life and memory of Miss Breonna Taylor, who we lost due to social injustice. So, Boyd, if you could join me with your fist up in the air one time. When I say justice for, you say Breonna Taylor, we'll do this 3 times to make sure that all of our listeners, followers, and supporters do not forget the life and memory of Breonna Taylor. So one time, justice for
Breonna Taylor.
Justice for
Breonna Taylor.
Justice for
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor, rest in peace, my mom. We miss you. We love you. And social injustice is so important to all of us that are people of color. So we're going to keep that at the first and foremost of this platform for as long as there's breath in his body. However, William James Boyd, for the 15th time, the record holder on the Diggy A2 platform. I feel like I should co-host this show with you every week, my man. So thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you for coming on this week, man. Shout out time, family. Who are your shout outs going to, my good sir?
My shout outs are going out to I'm gonna be a little bit different. My shout outs are going out to Locksmith. If you don't know who Locksmith is, if you're a fan of rap, you need to go find out who Locksmith is. Locksmith is nasty. The dude is such a breath of fresh air. He's done joints with some serious pioneers, R.A. the Rugged Man, Exhibit. He's done joints with Crooked Eye. The man is a lyrical beast, and he is conscious. He's conscious. The man is not just spewing something just to be spewing it. He's got, man, I think he had the best freestyle of 2019, but that's something else. Once again, Locksmith, the dude is nasty.
Word.
That's my shout out today, man.
Word, man. Well, first and foremost, my shout out goes to you. I could not have made it this far in this podcasting platform, me and the Queen, Jessica, aka Misconnected Dots, who's her new phrase now. I love you, babe, but
love you, Jess.
We could have not gotten this far without you and your contributions and your hip hop knowledge, your mind. Your mind is what I was going after. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know this, my big brother is the Master Yoda of hip hop. I feel like I'm the Luke Skywalker in episode 6. That's what I feel like. I'm never gonna be at his mastery level of hip hop, nor will I ever try to be. But I feel like I'm Luke Skywalker now. I feel like I'm coming into my own. I got my own, theories and thoughts about hip hop. I was around during a lot of these things that we're talking about. And this is well, I'd like to say in episode 1, this is a semester. This is a semester of hip hop you guys are listening to right now. We are teaching you about the culture in certain time frames. And in the 2000s, in the new millennium, you cannot talk about the new millennium without talking about Ja Rule. You just can't do it. So shout out to you, boy, to your contributions to the show. Always appreciative. Shout out to my queen, Queen Jess. Thank you, babe, for everything that you've done and will continue to do, for everything that we're trying to do with this platform and our success. Shout out to my family. And my last shout out, real talk, goes to Frank Ketchum. And Frank Ketchum is been on the show with us many, many of times, and he's going through some medical issues. And Frank, we love you. Get well. You got to come back so we can see the fruits of this labor. Hopefully you're watching the show right now, and you know that your heart is with me. Half of my heart is with you, man. So we love you. We love your family. We love all you guys, man. And that's all we got this week, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned next week when we go back to my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, of a specific personality that started and the coin crunk music. We're going back to Atlanta next week, you guys. All right, so we'll see you soon. Stay safe, stay humble, stay hip hop 100. All right, peace.